Coming down to the end here. So I don't know if I have too long of an explainer on this one, but I just thought he was a good pick, and I recently revisited the movie, and I've taken to it better than I did in undergrad when I first watched it, which was Tall Man from Phantasm.
Oh,
And I was
yeah.
on the fence about this one because I was like, is it really a sci-fi horror movie? Is this really seems more maybe interdimensional and cosmic than anything else? And I actually did a really cheap like Wikipedia search of sci-fi horror, and Phantasm was on there, so I feel partially validated by that. But to the extent that I can justify or explain why he's on my list, I don't know. I just think he's an interesting character. He's literally just known as the Tall Man, as far as I'm concerned, and I like Angus Grimm. And yeah, it's just wild. He's a mortician, and he's got like flying, metallic orbs that drill into people's heads, and he's got an army of little Jawa trolls. It's just such a strange film, in a psychedelic way. So I think just points for originality there.
David Cross calls it the Mandy of like
yeah, I can kind of
the old school people. I mean, people borrowed from it, and
oh yeah, yeah.
And the sequels are fun. Sorry, Norbert.
No, that's okay. It's creepy. It's dark. I have never actually. I've seen again. This is another one. WPIX Channel 11 in the 80s.
Are you sure this isn't like a sponsored program for
WPIX Channel 11? This commercial would come on all the time, and I didn't realize so much that the head baddie was the Tall Man. I thought it was just that ball, and I would always get this confused with Hellraiser and Pinhead.
Right.
I would always get these two confused. I've never actually seen Phantasm, now that I think about it. So this here, what the hell?
It's a very nightmarish movie, and I think that's what works about it. And you mentioned the sort of. Somebody mentioned the sort of you referenced with Mandy, I suppose. I thought it was really out there and really psychedelic at first, and for whatever reason, I don't know if I agree with that anymore. I think it's a more straightforward film than my memory sort of served. But to your point, Norbert, about the sort of Hellraiser thing, it does definitely have that sick sense of practical effect gore. I think that maybe was tangential to Hellraiser's series.
I think that's because this one came out first, and then Hellraiser comes out after.
Okay.
Look at the people who did the special effects on it, and you'll see a who's who of people that moved on to some major movies. So the more I research special effects, the more you see the people who came from Waxwork, who came from Phantasm. Big crews came from this movie.
Yeah, and apart from the gore, I just think, and of course the Tall Man himself, I just like the atmosphere of this movie is very nightmarish and it's not like nightmarish because it's dark, it's dark, but it's almost kind of like a Nightmare on Elm Street where you're sort of not sure if this is happening in real life or if it's a dream.
Oh my God.
I love it.
Look at the description here. It introduces the Tall Man, a supernatural and malevolent undertaker who turns the dead of Earth into dwarf zombies to be sent to his planet and used as slaves. He's opposed by a young boy, Mike, who tries to convince his older brother, Jody, and family friend Reggie of the threat. What the? Where are my drugs? I mean, that's what this is screaming at me. Wow. Right. I got to watch this. Thank you, Clement.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So let's see. Is it back to you, Norbert?
It was Mark, Rada Mitchell, Sergeant Mitchell, and Jason X, and then Norbert picked The Fly, Godzilla, Tall Man from Adam. So is it my turn?
Yeah, I think you're on your fourth.
Okay. All right. So we have done The Fly. We have done The Alien. We have done Them. Right?
You have a stacked squad.
Okay. Okay. Because it's a draft, I gotta go for the throat, man. Based on the 1938 John W. Campbell Jr. novella, who goes there?
Oh, wait. Are you going with good old?
I am going with good old The Thing, 1982, a sci-fi horror film directed by John Carpenter and written by Bill Lancaster. Yes, my friends, The Thing with Keith David. If we leave them out there, they'll die. Let them die.
Which character are you taking? The Thing?
I'm taking The Thing because I don't even understand what it is. Is it a cell? Is it that thing? What? I don't know what it is. It's a thing, and that's why it's perfect. It's just undefinable. It is creepy. It is weird. I'm going with The Thing.
The practical effects in that movie blow my mind every time I watch it. Just the head crawling, and I showed my students that movie, and they just lost their minds. Like, what is happening? And then you got good old, and you got Kurt. Yeah, it is. Yeah, he did Total Recall.
Okay.
And I don't know. You got Keith David. You got Kurt Russell with a big hat. Nothing gets better. And John Carpenter. And
we got to get a Keith David in there. Yes. We had to get a Keith David in there. We had to.
Had to. Oh man. No.
The whole thing with The Thing is that even when the prequel, right? The prequel where they find it in the ice. Mm-hmm. I love to do this. Okay, get a bottle of scotch, put on The Thing, and then put on The Thing, and just put them in your player and just back to back them. And I promise you that prequel holds up much better if you watch the next one right after, because it's like you're watching one long movie. It's cool, man. It works. Okay. Now, yes, it's kind of stupid in the prequel because you're looking for the dentures because they couldn't steal the glorious and beautiful thumb blood cutting thing of the 1982 movie. And this is why The Thing is so weird, because is it by actual, just like if I touch you, I pass it on? Is it in the air? Is it rubbing of the skin? Is it second base? How does this thing move around? It's never really clear. Just, you're talking to Hoffmeyer, and then all of a sudden Hoffmeyer's just, they're like, why, Hoffmeyer? I thought we were cool. I told you I'd give you that $5 back. Come on, get off me, dude.
It happened once, man. It happened once. at a Korean mud festival. That was it. It was a long day. It was a long day.
What's this stuff coming out of Hoffmeyer? He says it's mud. I don't know. He suddenly got 12 arms, a lot of teeth. I'm going to go with it, though. We're drinking. It's soju.
That's where I got it. Remember that night I went to a mud festival with Norbert, Adam.
Okay.
Everyone bought tents, and I'm like, I'll be fine. I'll just stay up all night. And it got really cold that night. And I tried to take a hot shower, and it was only cold water. So I got even more cold, and I needed to get some sleep, right? Everyone was asleep. So I went under a tube rental business.
There it is.
And it started raining, and I fell asleep under there. Then I got some weird thing on my leg, and that's when The Thing started.
When The Thing started?
Yeah.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
And no one knows. Clement, how do you feel about The Thing?
Oh, it had to be on somebody's list. I just felt it was not my place to steal such a. I mean, that gets you like 5 points off one movie. So.
Because you know that I'm an old man, and I had to take movies from the 80s because that's all I can remember with my alcohol brain. Thank you, young man.
It's my second favorite Carpenter movie. I think most people would say it's their first favorite, but Halloween is kind of impenetrable for me.
So I can choose any character from this movie?
Yeah, any character.
Okay, then I'm gonna go with Childs then. I'm definitely going with Childs.
Do you have a theory about the end, or are you?
Woo! If you go by the Dark Horse comics, Childs ends up getting it.
Really?
Yeah, if you go by the Dark Horse comics, Childs ends up getting it. But if you don't go by the Dark Horse comics and you look at it, I mean, Jesus.
Neither one of them has it. They survive, and then they go and they open up a bakery in San Francisco.
McCready and Childs sourdough?
Yeah. Yes.
You're nuts, dude. Childs, I told you, make sure that the oven's at 350. I already put it at 350, McCready. What the hell's wrong with you? Why don't you stop talking to me?
I'm gonna do a temperature test.
I told you, Childs, make sure that the sourdough has a certain amount of yeast in it. But goddamn it, McCready, go get the flamethrower. We gotta get it. I'm in quarantine alone for 6 months. Get me out of here.
That's the greatest moment of 2020 right there. It doesn't get any better. McCready and Childs arguing about sourdough. Mm-hmm. And a line of sourdough, and he's just walking in and plugging in the little temperature thing in each one.
Yeah.
Boop. Okay.
Until one of them. I'm sorry.
So I got to finish
up.
That
was really good for the sound emulation.
Oh, and you crushed a good one. You did another sound effect earlier that was beautiful, and I forgot what it was.
Oh, man.
Soju brain. All right, so So since it's me, I'm not going to do any classics. I'm just going to do weird ones and lose.
Go for it.
So so I watched the movie Slither, directed by James Gunn.
Underrated.
I think it's really underrated, and I had to bring up Nathan Fillion's his character Bill Party, because let me there's a quote in that movie where Elizabeth Banks, who's also really fun in that film, asks him, she's like, oh, what are you up to tonight? He's like, well, I'm trying to get my buzz on, but I just have too much muscle mass, and he can't. So that was I still quote that to this day. I'm like, I can't get drunk, I have too much muscle mass. So I still, and just the lines in that movie too, where he's like, my easygoing nature is being sorely tested, and
this is not that funny.
And then when Michael Rooker is like, I've been alive for 1,000,000 years, you think you can mess with me? And he goes, yes. It's just, I like how goofy he is. I like how he keeps fighting. I just think he's an excellent, fun character. I love the character. I just think...
It's a good call, man. It's a good call. Fillion and Michael Rooker in particular, man. Just two character actors. You give them the ingredients of a box of cornflakes, they're going to make that interesting. Yeah. And Gunn is a great writer.
Yeah, it's just too much muscle mass, guys. Too much muscle mass.
That's hilarious.
And that movie gets mean and gross and gushy and nasty.
Dude, trauma. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, it's incredible to me. It never ceases to amaze me that Gunn got his start with Trauma, and now he's directing these multi-bazillion-dollar movies for Disney.
Seriously, because The Toxic Avenger, that doesn't hold up, brother. Let me tell you, for a myriad of reasons.
That's pretty rough.
Class of Nukem High. You can't watch these movies anymore without a laundry list of warnings.
Romeo and Juliet.
Poultrygeist.
Oh gosh.
And then in that 80s tradition of turning highly inappropriate stuff into children's cartoons, The Toxic Crusaders.
Yeah, that was weird. That blows my mind. All this stuff, really.
Rambo had a children's cartoon, man.
Too much muscle mass.
Okay.
And I was with John Lazavath, who was the host of this show for like the first 100 episodes. Still a good friend. He's crushing improv right now. But when he heard that line, he looked at me and was like, Mark, that line was written for you.
For you.
We had a moment. We did. We just looked at each other. And we just sort of sonically talked to each other as soon as that line happened. And it just felt destined. I felt destined for it. So...
We used to just pound the soju and the makgeolli, so absolutely too much muscle mass. And I feel you. Excellent.
Mark, are you fine? Yeah, I'm good. Norbert's yeah. Everyone's sleeping. I'm still hanging out.
Too much muscle mass.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so the last one is. Oh man, so the last one. Okay. So
don't act like you don't have it picked.
No, I do, but. I just
Here we go.
I have a lot of them. I have a big list, but I gotta go with Captain Miller from Event Horizon. Lawrence Fishburne.
Is that the Sam Neill?
That's Lawrence Fishburne.
Okay.
Yeah. The captain. He's a captain, yeah.
And what I love about his character is, because I love this movie. All I ever do is push this movie. I'm like, Rotten Tomatoes has a new podcast called Rotten Tomatoes is Wrong. Like, you got to cover this movie. I wrote about Paul W. Sanderson. I included about that. That's one of our most popular episodes. I adore Event Horizon. And, no, I can't say it. I'll say it when we're after recording, but I got some cool news. But yeah, so.
Nice.
I got it. And this comes down to what's a hyphen? 2 or 3 words, depending on on the way you break these up. But they're talking about how haunted this ship is. And Captain Miller just goes, "We're leaving."
Yeah.
And
he absolutely knows the history of brothers in horror movies. He's like, "Yeah, we're out immediately. No splitting up. We're not investigating. Time to go."
Yeah, we're leaving, and that just makes me so happy. And when Sam Neill's like, "You're not leaving. Join me for the party. Don't leave us." He goes, "It's done." He's like, I'm gonna take this ship. And I am going to blow up. I'm going to take the Lewis and Clark, and I'm going to nuke this ship into oblivion. as soon